Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you to the Shorts 5 block for Imagine This Women's International Film Festival. My name is Christina Thomas. I am an alum. I screened my short film last year, Worth It. And this year's, I guess, our filmmakers for this year, you want to go around and introduce yourselves and your film. Kim, you want to start first?
Sure. My name is Kim. Thank you for joining, everybody. I wrote and directed the short film Champion, which is a coming of age family drama about a little Korean girl who overcomes the heartbreak of being separated from her father and has to find a new community in California.
Lola?
My name is Lola, and I wrote and directed Sunrise Hill.
And Linsa?
Hi, my name is Linsa Judy, and I wrote and directed Dream City, which is about a young woman who works as an exotic dancer, and she befriends the wrong friend at work while she's trying to achieve her greatest dream. So it's her navigating that.
And our last person?
Hi everyone, I'm Wu Qing Chang, and the director of the Hello to Me in 100 Years. And the film is about the children's imagination for the future world. It's a documentary animated short film.
All right, thank you ladies so much. I guess my first question for you all is, out of all the films, it kind of seemed like there was a little part of you that came into some of these stories. And I wanted to know how you got inspiration for making these films.
I can
Kim?
go first. Uh, for me, Champion was actually a semi-autobiographical film. It's based on my own story when I was a child. And it's based on this idea of a goose family, which is a very uniquely Korean term, where fathers stay in Korea to make money and the rest of the family goes to an English speaking country for better education. And the father is like a goose because they migrate back and forth any chance that they're able to get. So I was raised as part of a goose family. I didn't live with my dad since I was very little. And it was based on that experience of questioning what is family, what is the true meaning of family, even if you're separated, even if you are only able to see each other once or twice a year. Does the idea of family change? And in Champion, my intention was to show that despite the distance, a family can still be as strong as any other. So I did definitely take inspiration from my own life and also wanted to allow space for other families like mine, not just other goose families, but also other Asian communities and other immigrant communities that have experienced some sort of separation through their upbringing to be able to watch themselves on screen.
Anybody else?
I could go. Dream City came from just a question I one day asked myself is how far am I willing to go? I was thinking about just being in this industry, in the film industry, and how turbulent it can be at times. And did I want to go and do something else? And so I just started off with that question and I was like, oh, what am I willing to compromise to get to that? And I just started checking off like certain things I was willing to compromise. And when I was thinking about where I wanted my character, what space I wanted her to be in, there's something about Black strip clubs that are really vibrant and and like I think a lot of the times we see, even though I don't think there's that much content surrounding that world, but the things that we have seen, it's always not really about the woman who's the dancer, and it's about all these other things. So I wanted to kind of humanize my character and just us go on this journey where it's less about her being a dancer very rarely do you actually see her like fully dancing on someone. It's about her and the camaraderie of the club and her dreams. So yeah, it started off with that simple question of how much am I willing to sacrifice and compromise? And so I just brought that into my character.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, I can go. So Hello to Me in 100 Years is a collaboration project with Taiwan Public Television. And our goal is to build a short film, which is a documentary short film, content historical archive in Taiwan. And also the target audience is children. So in the very beginning, I was thinking to create a workshop with children, and the children ages from 6 to 12. We talk about the imagination to the future and also the previous experience in the history. So it was an interview actually, and after the interview, children draw their imagination as a painting, and I bring those paintings to come alive in the animation film, and also to edit all the interview voice to build the narration. And what I want to tell the audience in this film is there's technology advance every year, and also the civilization. So no matter how the world change, no, there's one thing will not change, that is life need each other so that we won't be alone. And that is children told us.
Yeah. I guess my other question to you all too, just hearing some of those stories of just how you guys made these films and with the stories that they came from, what were some of the expectations that you had going into the short that ended up being challenges when you started filming?
I could share. I think one of the biggest expectations, I really wanted real exotic dancers, especially Black women who are current dancers, because I wanted it to feel as authentic as it could be. And I felt like, oh, I mean, they understand the world. I'm not from that world. It's just me being a person who's watching and just kind of like trying to tap into it. And it was a challenge for me to find that. And also to find actors who felt comfortable, again, because I wanted it to feel authentic, who felt comfortable with nudity and comfortable with their bodies to be able to portray those characters. I mean, I think a lot of the time we always assume that like an actor would love to play a stripper, but in actuality, they don't. Some of them, a lot of them don't, especially the young ones, which is understandable. So that was something that I kind of had to pivot because I didn't find real, actual exotic dancers. So I had to really lean in on like new and upcoming actors and make sure that I created a safe space for them as well, so they could tap in as much as they could to that specific role. And I enrolled them in, I did like pole dance classes, like they were enrolled in pole dance classes and sensuality classes for about a month, because it was several. I had my leads and then I had the girls who played kind of like the extras, the dancers. So that really, so even though I didn't get what I initially wanted, I felt like I got more, just because a lot of the women who were in my film, they got to tap into themselves. They got to tap into their sensuality. They had ownership over their bodies and the way that they were in the space. And while we were filming, like, I can't tell you how many of them felt so empowered by that. So I got more than what I expected, even though at the time I was like, oh, I'm not getting it. I'm not getting what I want. But I got, and people really think that they're real dancers. So I'm like, wow, we won, guys, with all this. So yeah.
I feel like a lot of the challenges that I faced that I wasn't expecting were all like production based. So because I had like a story that took place over one night, I thought that we could like shoot very quickly and be done with filming within like 3 or 4 weeks. We all had jobs that we were holding down, so we definitely like only shot on weekends or like late nights. We were all done with work, but we ended up shooting over the span of like maybe like 5 or 6 months, just because reshooting things, getting quick pickups, trying to work around all our schedules and like not miss out on gigs, not miss out on work. We shot for much longer than expected, and continuity became a really big issue. The actress's nails, the actor's hair, like it was just a lot to maintain. And I for some reason, I was like, yeah, we'll be done shooting in 3 weeks. And 5 months later, we're like, we need this one pickup shot of this one exterior. We need to like reshoot this one scene and like do this differently, or things like that. So it was definitely a longer process than I anticipated.
And for Champion, I guess there are definitely challenges throughout production. Like, what production doesn't have challenges through production, right? But if I think about the question of how was it challenging, more so because it was inspired by a personal story, I think for me, it was definitely in the writing process harder to divorce myself from the character and try to instill a new personality into this character that was definitely born from my own experience. And so that was something that was really incredible for me to experience as a writer, because it was so personal that I didn't really know how to not make this character me. And I think in finding the actress, and in my instance, it was a child actor too, it was really incredible to find the actors who were able to embody the characters themselves and really add new performance and new layers to them. So ultimately, I thought it was a really good exercise for me as a writer and a director to be able to like imbue new life into the characters that were originally based on my own experience.
So for me, I think it will be like to build the narration, because in this film, our goal is to combine the historical archive in the past, like 70 years ago in Taiwan, and also there's a children animation, children drawing, and children's voice, and how to combine all of those materials and technique, and to build the narration will be the most challenging thing for me. And yeah, also editing the children's voice in the interview, and to pick those important issues and then make them in the film. And then we have like a microscopic topic to macroscopic topic, from a personal experience to the society experience, and to the issue in the universe. So that will be that took a lot of time, and yeah, that will be the most challenging thing for me when making the film.
And going individually into your films, I want to start with Lola with Sunrise Hill. Again, I'm from Oakland, California, so this was like a very special treat to see your film. But I wanted to start with you, just like, again, I've rode that BART train. I have met so many strangers. I've had conversations every now and again, but this was kind of a different experience in your film of just like, what would you do and what becomes the experience next? And what was something that you felt like you had to do it in the Bay Area, you had to do it in Oakland, and specifically you had to do it at BART?
Yeah, I guess I feel like one of the reasons why I didn't make it about like the LA metro system is because, one, no one takes LA metro. Like everyone in the Bay Area takes BART. At least when I was growing up, everyone takes BART. But late at night, you do find BART to be like kind of empty, or just like as it gets later, like there tends to not be, like a lot of the times, like the BART attendant won't be there, or and it's where I'm from, so like I really wanted to tell like a local story, and I knew that shooting in the Bay Area was going to be an easier feat than shooting in LA, which is where I'm based out of now. But yeah, I don't think it's a situation or a circumstance that could have only happened in the Bay, but I think like the types of characters that I wanted involved, I think are like our lead actress is also from the Bay Area. She's from Pittsburgh. And our actor, he's not from the Bay Area, but he definitely like dedicated himself to kind of like learning the culture and like, you know, becoming that person. So yeah, I felt it was important to me, at least as a Bay Area, you know, native to an Oakland native, to kind of make sure it took place in that environment.
Yeah, and with Hello to Me in 100 Years, one of my questions was throughout of just like, I love documentary. I started off as a documentarian until I was just like, I was not committed to the months and years sometimes it takes to film subjects. And for this specific documentary, what were some of the things that you were thinking about with answering the question yourself of, you know, what does it look like in 100 years? And also, did you talk to your family and friends of, you know, what they thought as well too, before you started the process?
Yeah, that is a good question. Thank you. Well, in the very beginning, I didn't, I myself didn't think of very specifically what will it be like 100 years later, because 100 years later and 100 years ago, in the film, it's like a concept a long time later and a long time ago. It's like a time. It's like a time base, and the concept for a time base. And in the beginning of the production, I had an idea like we can hold a workshop with children. So before that, we have two boys, who is 4 and 5 years old, who is my neighbor, and I interview them and talk to them, chat with them about a question. What would you think 100 years ago it will be like? Where will you, and what are going to be? Something like that. And it helped a lot actually. And after that, I think, okay, that will work. And I would like to have the interview before everything, because I like to experiment when I make film, because I like to make a documentary animated short film very much. I would like to build the narration and make it based on the interview. So yeah, actually, when I make the interview, when our team make the interview, we don't know. I don't know. Where are we going? We don't know why. Well, yeah, exactly. We are not sure why. Where are we going? And what will the film be like? Because it's unknown. Yeah, it's the most exciting part for me and most enjoyable part for me actually. The most painful part for me as well. So yeah, after the 8 hours interview workshop, I got a lot of voice, and try to build the narration and to edit all of them. And so I think the most challenging things to make all the thing on set, and make all the thing on the right part, and to think about what is the core issue in this film. When the professor, who is the interviewee in this film, he talked to the children. while you paint a painting, there is a house where you live alone or where you live with your family and friends. And the girl said, I will live with my family and friends. Why? Because then I will be alone. And at the time, I think I got it. The core issue in this film is we are not living alone because we need each other so that we won't be alone.
Yeah. And Linsa with Dream City, I saw a lot of themes of just like femininity and just kind of like explorations of what women will do to get what they want. And I think what is one thing that you found that you strive for most within your life to get, but it seems like there's so many challenges that come with it.
Oh my gosh.
I'm getting deep. I'm getting deep on
What
what
a
is
deep
this? A Tuesday?
question. I think that's something that I'm always actually being challenged, because I think ultimately, I mean, everyone like happiness, but what does happiness look for me? And I think it's just having a peace of mind where I'm not comparing myself to others. I'm content in like where I am and who I am. And now with like, so I think that's where I'm trying to go. But again, it's like I'm always learning something new about myself. What do I actually want? Um, yeah, but is that was that the what was the question again? Let me just repeat it. I'm like, is that my answer?
Yeah, just like some of the explorations that you found within your characters and within the story as you as a woman feel like you have to fight more and you feel like you see the challenges that come with it of just like, yeah, this is my goal in mind, but what challenges come with that?
Yeah, okay. I would say with my main character, Melissa, like ultimately, again, like she wants this salon, but
Yeah.
she needs the money. And I know that was something like at first when I was writing, it was a bit more about the relationship between her and Raven. And then through rewrites, it's
Oh,
like, no, she wants this money and she wants her salon. Like she wants that ultimate, again, that like her something that she owns that no one could take from her, and that she has autonomy over like her day. You know, when you're an entrepreneur, you have endless time, not endless time, but you have control over your time.
mhm.
And so I know for me, like financially, and like that's a struggle. Like I'm an artist, I'm a filmmaker, being in this industry, it's like you're jumping from job to job. You never have enough money, and also the
Yeah.
opportunities, there's never enough, right? There's never enough to kind of build, it feels like at times, up until you get to a certain place. And I think that's one of my challenges for me in my personal life. Like that's something that I'm always trying to like push through. And whereas Melissa, like she was willing to go all the way left, where I don't know, I'm not there yet. I don't know how much,
Yeah.
again, how much do I want this? Do I want it that badly to have it consume my every day? Like I'm not sure yet. But for her, I wanted to make her character sure of that. So I guess that's probably, I don't know if I answered it, but it's like a peace of mind, but
Right.
also like all these other, yeah. It's just a challenge. Life is a challenge. It really is.
It really is. I'd be just shooting darts and be like, get it, just do
Yeah,
it, get through it. Yes.
like, can I just wake
And
up?
then yeah, I'm just like, you go through those challenges, you get through them, but it makes you that much stronger to say like, oh, this is something that I can continue to do and strive for, or I need to take a step back. Maybe this is not for me.
Yeah,
I'm gonna just throw this back in the valley. So there you
yeah.
go. And then Kim, finally with Champion, I think one of the things that I started thinking about is I kind of been through a similar situation where I didn't understand why my dad was away a lot. And because my mom was always home, my mom was a first grade teacher, but my dad became an executive for a nonprofit and it just took him away. Not the same thing, but I love that whole relationship of just this young girl trying to understand what their parent is doing. And to the question that I have for you, what's something that you learned as now that you've gotten older that your parents sacrificed for you?
Oh, so much. I feel like it took a lot of practice to not cry talking about something like this related to my parents. But they sacrifice so much, and I love that you brought up your own experience as well, Christina, because it really is. You start to think about it, and then the separation within a family is so universal, and it can take form in so many different ways. And usually there is some motive, some intention. So oftentimes it's the American dream, it's capitalism. It's like, how can we find more success? How can we be, like in a better social standing than we were before? But what I realized as I grew up, or more and so in my adulthood, having actual conversations with my parents as human to human, as opposed to daughter to parent, is that I've realized that they're also just human, and they were just doing the best they could at the time in the best way they knew how. And I think that's what I realized the most in my adulthood, and what I also wanted to try to portray in the film is that sometimes we think our parents are these all-knowing people who just know what they're doing at any given moment and are guiding you through life, but oftentimes they don't. And my mom had me when she was 27. She had my older brother when she was 25, and I'm not 30, and I am nowhere near even thinking about having children. And so I think back to that time when my mom made the decision to take us back to America, and she could have had a whole career. She could have had a life in Korea. She could have achieved so many different things that she might have wanted to achieve at the time, but instead she decided to take us to America, in a place where it's not her first language. She might not have the opportunities that she would have in Korea. And to think back to the motivations of why she did that, she pretty much just did that for us. And she pretty much sacrificed her entire life and her future to dedicate to us. And that's definitely something that I thought a lot about in my film. And even though the idea of the father is very prevalent throughout the film, the three people that are present in the actual physicality of the film are the family, Jimin, who's the main character, her brother, and her mother. And so I really wanted to draw out those layers for the mom as well. She has the most lines, in addition to Jimin, who's the protagonist. And I really wanted to imbue that idea of unknowing, and just her as a person who also doesn't know if this is the best sacrifice or best thing to do at that moment for herself or her children. And yet she's doing it because she believes that her children will be better off for it. So the idea of sacrifice is definitely huge. And I think most parents, if not all parents, sacrifice a lot for their kids. And I definitely wanted to be able to portray that.
Yeah. And I realize that with each of your films is a lot of discovery, understanding the unknown, and asking the questions. And my question to you as well, to all of you, is what are some of the things that you want to take with you with your next film? What's the next film that you would like to do and explore, discover, or ask questions about?
I could go. I know I am working on a feature right now that I'm writing, and the biggest thing I'm questioning is identity. Obviously, but like more cultural identity. Like, I'm Haitian American, so I understand the lineage of my family when it comes to Haiti and them being enslaved. But when it comes to here in America, like, again, people don't know when they look at me that I'm Haitian American. They will automatically assume that I'm African American. And I know that there's some like questions with like, who are you? Because I was born here. It's like so many questions like about like, who are you? Where are you from? And so, yeah, I'm working on just like, what does that mean? What does that mean as a Black person in America dealing with, obviously, like with slavery and things like that? And but again, I don't identify with the stories of here in a way of like, oh, that is my ancestry, because I understand my ancestry from Haiti, in that way. And there's a strength there that comes from that. And this feature is exploring that. And also And I think when it comes to, we always talk about people of color, like specifically Black people, but I think there's also a conversation when it comes to white people as well. A lot of white people don't understand their lineage as well. Like they don't know where their descendants are from. You know, I can't explain. Like there's so many of my friends, I'm like, oh, where's your family from? And they don't know. So it's just like talking about identity when it comes to both races, that there's a lot of history here in the US, and that people don't, like we find a connection, but there's a whole other group of people that don't necessarily see that connection within their lives as well. So that's something that I'm exploring. And it's great. Like I'm learning a lot about my family and how we got our land in Haiti. And it's like, wow, like who thought that I came from these amazing, extraordinary people who it's always like, you know, so it's, yeah, that's the culture identity. It's what my next film will be about.
I love it.
Yeah, I can go. So I'm preparing my next film, which will be start to make in the early stage production next year. And I think so I'm still figuring out the issue I'm going to talk about, but the issue I'm concerned about is feminism, women's right, women's operation, and also patriarchy. And yeah, I think just like my previous film talk about my grandmother's experience, I think even though there's we still have a long way to go, and the patriarchal shadow still lingers in our own times. So I would like to talk more about that. And probably will be another documentary short animated film, because I love the genre and I like to talk about people and have interview with them to hear different voice. I think will be another part for me, most important part for me while making the film. Thank you.
Lola, you were going to say something?
So Sunrise Hill is my second short with like a neat, cute plot. And I've never really pulled from like my own personal experiences to write a short or make a short. So right now I'm interested in a friend and I are putting together a feature that pulls from my middle school experience, kind of like regarding identity, but like with kids and like coming, like I feel like middle school is kind of like where you start to figure out like your identity and how your identity relates to everyone else and like what their identity is. And so yeah, from some of my own experiences for the first time. So it'll be an interesting process.
I have to say, I feel like I relate so much to all of you and your explorations of your own identity, cultural identity and womanhood, femininity, all of that. Those are also topics that I'm exploring in my stories. And I think like Liqing, I think probably I'm most interested in right now. I'm writing so many different projects and so many different stories, but all of them have to do somehow with the reproductive ability for women and like the womanhood in general. And I think that I got really fired up, of course, after all the Roe versus Wade type of conversations in the recent years. And Korea is also going through something very similar in a way that abortion rights are currently being fought to the death right now. So it's a very scary time in various different countries, various cultures at the moment. And so it's really at the top of mind, really trying to hold on to those ideals and those basic rights have been at the forefront of my mind. And so just ideas of womanhood, powers of fertility, and the choice of whether you want to be a mother or not, I think is definitely something that I'm thinking about. And generally, I love genre. Champion is probably the most straightforward in terms of genre that I've ever written. It's my first short film, and it's a very straightforward coming of age story and a family drama. But I love exploring with different genres. I love sci-fi. I love just generally surrealism, magical realism. So those are the projects that I probably work on next.
Yeah. Those all sound amazing. First off, but also I want to get to the festival at hand as well too. I know for me, it was the first film festival for my short, and I got to stay for the 4 days of the festival and got to go to the brunch, the lunch, all the things, some of the panels, and it just was a really great experience for me, especially for the first on like the mini festivals that my short got in. And I wanted to know what your experience has been like with the festival so far. Now going in person and now virtual.
I've only experienced Imagine Me like through virtual, because like last year my short got in and I didn't get a chance to go to New York. And again this year, so I'm praying that next year I also get in with my last short, and that I will finally be able to fully absorb all of what Imagine This has for me. Because I think, like, I personally love this festival. I think I love seeing women command the space, and I love to see all the different perspectives and the shorts. And but their virtual events are amazing, and so I'm looking forward to the next virtual event where it's like the virtual meetup. I've met some amazing women from last year, and I know that some of the people that worked on my film last year were able to go and they enjoyed it so much. So I'm definitely grateful that there's a space for the stories I like to tell, and all the women who are also here today, their stories. So I personally love this festival, but next year I'm definitely coming in person. So I could be like you, going to the brunches. That's where I want to be.
I felt very fancy, very fancy.
I that's where I need to be. I'm a fancy girl. I want that experience.
I had a really great time. I got to attend the festival in person, and it was such a cool experience to be around so many like women filmmakers. And I had this moment like weeks before the festival. I think it was when I got the notification that my film was being accepted, and I looked at like the list of films that had been, and it was so many films. And at first I was like, oh man, like this is a lot of films. Like I feel like this is overwhelming. But then I had like my follow-up thought was like, this is a lot of women like making films. And it's like a lot of like, I don't know, just being in the space and like getting to meet all the women who like made these films was just such a cool experience, because I've done festivals before, and it's like maybe like 10-20% of the filmmakers are women. So it was cool to be in a space where it was like every single filmmaker was a woman. It was a really cool experience, and shout out to the organizers of the festivals, did a great job. And it was just a cool thing to be a part of. And everyone's like wanting to talk and engage in conversation, which was great for me because I get like really shy and like closed off. But there was always someone like to like come up to me and be like, so what film did you work on? And da, 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 da. And it was just a nice experience to like feel like part of the community.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to add on to that, it was really empowering to be a part of this festival. It's awesome that it's female driven, female non-binary filmmaker driven. It's not often that the festivals are shining such a light to so many of us working out there. Like Lola said, I didn't even realize there are so many female filmmakers out there working. And so to be able to share the light with other female filmmakers, it was amazing. And also to be there in person and meet Patrice and Susie, and everyone is so empowering and wanting you to have the mic and, have a voice and to be heard. So it was really a beautiful environment to be a part of.
Yeah, I had a chance. Yes, thank you. So I participated in the festival virtually. Unfortunately, I was not able to go to the festival in person, but I will really love to. And I remember like 2 years or 3 years ago, my previous film, My Grandmother Is an Egg, was also selected in the festival. It was a great honor. And yeah, I think the Imagine Women Film Festival content, we like there's a lot of women filmmakers, and it could create a great place for everyone to communicate and connect with each other, and also to get inspiration from each other. It's so good. And yeah, I think because we talk and to express our story through women's eyes. So there's something unique and something there's only women know, and we can share also the viewpoint to each other in this event. It's amazing. So I would love to go to the festival in person in the future if there's opportunity.
Yeah. I guess kind of my last question, what have you learned so far with going to different film festivals, and also just what you've learned how your film is being received?
Okay, I'll go. Going to different film festivals. I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that everyone is trying to find their community. And like no one, I think sometimes I get intimidated going to festivals because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I feel like such an up and coming filmmaker. I'm like, I don't really like, what am I going to talk about? Do I even have projects? And you know, you think of all the things that you don't have. I don't have this, I don't have that. But when I go to film festivals, especially um like this one, like people just want a community and they just want to connect and to stay open and be like, to humble yourself. Like I've learned about humility through this, just like connecting. And also when it comes to my film, I'm always really critical of my film. Like I never think it's perfect. There's things I'm like, oh my God, I wish I got a little bit more time to change this or to make this a little bit like this idea punchy more, you know? And seeing how people react and they enjoy it, they laugh, or they're like, oh my gosh, like I love your music, or like they pay attention to some of the details that you don't think no one's paying attention to. It's like okay, like all right, something's working here. I'm doing something. My vision is not like a lie. Like this thing that I had in my head or what I created, I think it's great, but at the same time, like, you know, something is perfect for you. I think as an artist, like when it leaves our hand, we think it's perfect until it becomes until it goes into someone else's hand and opinions start. So it's just like always knowing that when it left my hand, it was perfect. I loved it. I thought I made great choices. My team thought we made great choices. So but yeah, film festivals are great. I think you never know who you're gonna meet, and you might I've met some amazing composers who are just up and coming, and they're made like you never know. You never know who again is looking for that community and that I could be a part of.
I love that. And I do hope that we get to meet in person in the future too. And we can
Yes,
be each
we
other's
will.
community.
Listen, next year I'm coming. I'm coming next year, so we
Yes.
will meet each other. That's our goal.
Yeah, I love it. I like festivals are great. I agree completely with them. So like the community part is the most important benefit to a festival, I feel like. And I really do think down the line we'll probably come across each other again. And we're filmmakers, we're going to continue to make films. So it's inevitable that we're going to continue to meet each other in such an amazing space to be able to connect with each other, hear each other's films, and get inspired. And I have one experience where at the previous film festival I was at, I actually had a Zoom just like this, like a online Q&A, and we found out that we're going to the same festival in like Hawaii, and we decided to bunk together. So you just never know what's gonna happen, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, I think the film festival provides a great experience for all filmmakers to get inspiration and connect with each other. And yeah, even better to collaborate in our future films. Yeah, it would be great. And yeah, to meet filmmaker and the film festival, I'm always very excited. And yeah, because I'm interested in everyone's, yeah, every filmmaker's thoughts about their film, and to like to hear their talk about their films and their ideas and inspiration. Yeah, and hopefully we will meet in the future and at the film festival.
I guess since they're not stopping me, I'm gonna ask you these other two questions. How did you guys raise the funding for your film? I'm always asking that question because I'm like, how did these people? I know one of you guys, I looked it up. One of you guys did a fundraiser, but like, how did you guys get the funding for these films? Because they look gosh dang good. Okay, they are chef's kids. Just want to say that.
So I can't take the credit for that with this one. I made this film in film school at Florida State, and they give you the money, but I know they give you the money and they give you the equipment, and I can't, but I learned, I will say my last short that I made recently, fundraising is probably the most stressful thing. Like, I don't know how people do it. I don't know how they raise 30,000, 80,000, 100,000. Like, and you can't, people are like, oh, you crowdfund. I learned with crowdfunding now that you have to have people who are already committed to fundraise, like to giving you that money. And I don't come from wealthy family. I don't come from a wealthy family. A lot of people I work with don't come from a wealthy family. So I don't know how people do it. I really don't. It was the ultimate like stress, like production element, like, okay, your location drops out. Like that does not compare to not being able to pay people and feed people and having like, where you're trying to function at this high end level as a filmmaker and to respect your crew in a way of paying them and doing all these, I don't know. I don't know how people do it. I don't. But with Dream City, I'm grateful that I was able to use the resources that were given, and I used it to the fullest that I could, and I didn't take it for granted. And so now that I'm out of film school, I realize how blessed I was and how fortunate and how amazing that specific program for, in Florida was for me. Just because I don't think I would have been a filmmaker without it, to be honest with you. So I want to hear how these women raise their funds, because I need to know. I need to know where the money is.
So I don't know if other of you guys did fundraising. I did. I don't know if that was what you were referring to, Christina.
Yeah. I was like, that's why it looks so pretty.
I did a Kickstarter and it was so hard. I don't know if I could ever do it again. It was so hard. It was really hard. I don't think I was sleeping very much those many months. But it was definitely about the community. I tapped into every aspect of my life I could possibly delve into. LinkedIn, messaging each other, like messaging people on LinkedIn, email, Instagram, Facebook, wherever, just utilizing every single avenue of funding. And yeah, I think you do have to be somewhat, you have to be fully committed. You're gonna have to be in an attitude where it's like do or die situation. And it was definitely the mindset that I had. I was like, I'm raising this or else. I didn't even think about the or else, to be honest. I was like, I'm doing it, and that's it. But I do have to say, I did reach out to some corporations, and it did work out. I did matching grants. I don't know if you know about matching grants yet, but I did actually work for a corporation too. At the time I was fundraising, and I asked certain people like within the company to donate on my behalf, and then the corporation matches that amount as well. So that's a really good avenue to utilize some of those just the matching gifts.
Yeah, so oops.
No, go.
No, you go first.
So I had to fundraise for my senior thesis a long time ago, many years ago. So I knew how hard the Kickstarter and the fundraiser stuff can be. And for this one, I couldn't like bring myself to like ask people for like, there was just something in me and I just couldn't fundraise. Like I couldn't put myself out there and be like, I need money for my, like, I knew how hard it was going to be and I just like didn't do it. So a friend and I got together and we, talked about what was needed. And between her and I, we both put together like, some of our savings, which wasn't much, but I pretty much made this with no money because I've been working in the music video business for a few years, and I had friends that were owner operators, like camera owners, and had friends that like had applications. So I just pulled in every favor that I could and really just did this with some friends with like no money. Like locations were all favors, equipment was all favors, the car mount that we used was a favor. Like people just came through. Talking about community, like I just had a community of filmmakers that were able to come through and like support the project in any way they could, which was usually with like gear. The only thing we did pay for was sound. So every weekend we would come out of pocket a couple $100s to have like a professional like boom op come and do sound for us. But other than that, it was all just like using every last favor that I had in the book that I had saved up over all these years of working. So no, almost no money.
Yeah, I think fundraising is always difficult. Yeah, for Hello to Me in 100 Years, luckily it's a collaboration project with Taiwan Public Television Foundation. So they provide the funding and all the production needs, including the producer and the coordinator. So I think yeah, for this project, the fundraising, I didn't participating too much to the fundraising part, but yeah, I think there might be some opportunities in different countries. The government or the organization will provide some fundraising choice. So yeah, I think there should be something we can do. Yeah.
Well, ladies, that has to be my last question. It was so great talking with you guys. I hope you guys are going to connect somehow within the group and just stay connected. I know for me, I've stayed connected with a few women from last year, just, again, exchanging information, rooting for them while they still are doing new films and things like that. Again, I want to thank Imagine This Women's International Film Festival for having me to host your amazing panel right here with these amazing films. Again, there's going to be more virtual panels, more discussions, and I hope everybody watches and they get to see how glorious and amazing you guys are. All right, we're signing off.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.